You're listening to So You Want to Be a Photographer with Gina Militia, one of Australia's leading portrait, celebrity and lifestyle photographers. With over 25 years experience in the industry, Gina is a pro photographer who regularly travels the world shooting for some of the country's top magazines and advertisers. She is author of 4 best-selling books on photography, runs workshops and mentors aspiring photographers all around the world. In conversation with journalist, interviewer and budding amateur photographer Valerie Khoo, Gina reveals what it takes to build a successful photography business, provides a sneak peek into life behind the lens, and talks about her tips and techniques to get the perfect shot.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 358 of So You Want to Be a Photographer. My name's Valerie Khoo and I'm here with Gina Militia. How are you, Gina?
I'm great, Val. I'm very excited about this week's episode.
Yes.
5 pro tips for beginners and enthusiasts to take their photography to the next level. This week, so good because we've come out of lockdown. I'm sorry you guys in Sydney are still in lockdown, but what was really nice for me was this is the first time since Easter that the Militia family got to get together and we went out and we had, this was my first time, Chinese hot pot.
Oh.
I'm a fan, Val.
Okay.
So what it is basically, for those of you that haven't tried it, it's like there's, you sit around a table and they have like this, in the centre of the table there's like 2 different broth mixes. So there's like a chili one and there's like a more a less spicy one, and then you order the raw ingredients and then you cook them in the centre of the table. So it's like fondue, or like a fondue party, and so you can have like vegan options or thinly sliced meat or dumplings that you just put in and cook. So much fun.
Yes.
It was so good.
Well,
Hectic.
I call that steamboat. Is that not steamboat?
So we call it Chinese hot pot down here.
All
pot, yeah. So for Melbourne listeners, there is a place called Panda Hot Pot in Carlton. That's the one that we went to. This is not a sponsored post, by the way. But the service is amazing. Like they come in and you've got your own waiter who's just explaining everything. So like this is how long you need to cook it for, and they're coming and they're helping you. And it was just so much and so lovely to see, the family again after forever. So it was
how wonderful.
Lovely. What about you, Val? What have you been up to?
Well, as you've mentioned, I'm in lockdown.
You've been telling me about the delicacies that you've been enjoying in lockdown, Val. What's been your favourite?
So you mean the peanut butter and the almond croissant and the raspberry and Nutella?
Butter, you're doing wrong.
What?
I told you, because you're having peanut butter with multigrain bread. Why bother? I said you need to change that. The best way to have peanut butter goes
with Nutella.
hand in hand. I've told Nutella is next level, but it has to be white bread, soft white bread, white bread. And this is not so you want to be an Elvis, it was one of his favourite sandwiches, wasn't it? This is not so you want to be a sandwich maker. This is a show about photography.
Yeah.
But Val and I just like to debrief. So peanut butter sandwich. How else is lockdown? How's lockdown going aside from that, Val?
Well, I've been quite productive actually because it's enabled me some time to paint more paintings and also varnish paintings and then photograph the painting. So I've got a bit of a system going now, which is good. It's going well. So I'm quite happy about that.
And I jumped on your Insta and had a look the other day, and it's like you've changed styles now. So you're going for a more abstract style, and they're the beachy themes. Oh, kind of. It's like more impressionistic, I reckon.
Some
I would
of them
describe
are,
it
yes,
as.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So very beachy and quite lovely. So
very coastal.
Really love very coastal.
Well, it's weird because that actually
fantastic.
started over when we had the Christmas lockdown. So that's when it started, and then I went off it again, and then I've back onto it. So it seems to be the thing that that is working and people are buying. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and that's another exciting thing. How's the photography go? Like after you varnish the images, the paintings, is the varnish a gloss finish or is it a matte finish? And how does that impact the photography? So would you prefer to photograph before you varnish or after?
I actually photograph before I varnish.
Yeah,
so,
clever.
Yeah, so it's and because it does really change the look if you have a gloss varnish, completely changes the look, which I don't really do as much these days. I have a matte varnish, but it's just a lot easier if I varnish if I photograph before the varnish, because then there's no issues. And I found this ideal spot where the light is really even, and so it's perfect, really perfect.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So that's actually a good tip for photographers who are photographing art for artists. Maybe suggest that you go around and take the shots before they do the varnish, because the varnish isn't like an aesthetic thing. It's just to protect the painting from fading, I guess. It locks it all in, right?
Well, yes and no. If you use a gloss varnish, it makes a huge difference. It is an aesthetic thing. It's just
right, so you can see the texture and the depth.
Well, often the colours are even more vibrant.
Oh, interesting.
Depending on the colours. It can be quite different. So I'm not sure how people go with shooting things with gloss varnish, because the reflection is definitely an issue. I mean, you can definitely shoot it and then correct it in Photoshop. It's just more work.
Yeah, so the lighting technique that I share for the Gold community in the How to Photograph Art course actually covers that. So I show how to, because often you'll get an image that is behind glass that you need to photograph. So how do you overcome the issues of flare and things like that? So I've got a lighting setup that actually eliminates all the flare, Val, and that would work for your images that are varnished, and you won't get those highlights and that sheen using this particular lighting setup. It's all about how you line up the lights. It's like magic, really.
And if you have a lot of artists in your area and you put yourself out there as somebody who can do photography of art, then it can work out quite well for you, because if you have it all set up. So, for example, I used to go to this art photographer before you taught me how to do it myself, and hers was just set up all the time. So she didn't have to, move things around or whatever. She just put the artwork there, and it was really straightforward. And she used to charge per piece. So depending on also the size of the file that you wanted. But let's just say I've had quotes that range from, if it was a one piece, ranging from $125 to $180 per piece. If you give them 5 pieces at one go, you get a bit of a discount, because they don't have to, they can just run through it. And the beauty also is that you don't have to pose your subject, because, you don't have to get into their heads. You don't have to deal with their insecurities.
But it's a good little money spinner for photographers looking for ways to make extra cash. And also, if you're very clever about the way that you do it, as you're meeting these artists and getting to know them, they'll come and see you a few times. Eventually, they're going to need a better artist profile image. And that in itself is a specialised genre, so that you could and not only that, how great is it to be working and collaborating with other artists? It's perfect, right? So you can start by shooting their art, and then as you get to know them and how they think, you'll be thinking up ways that you can actually photograph them in their studios and doing their artist portraits, because they need them, and they need good ones and they need creative ones. So good little lucrative way to make some money in a beautiful community.
And something actually that people might not have considered, I want to give a big shout out to, I think he's based in Melbourne, a photographer in Melbourne called Alex Wigan, who I actually discovered his photographs. I can't remember where, but it could have been Unsplash or something. He had some beautiful photographs of Tasmania. And I actually contacted him and said, hey, I love this particular shot of, this place in Tasmania. I'd really like to paint it. Now, of course, if you're just using photography as inspo and you're not actually representing it in the same way, you just like the colours or, you just like the mood it evokes, then it doesn't really matter. But I actually really liked the composition. I liked the colours. I liked everything. So I said, hey, is it okay with you if I use your photo and basically paint it? And he was so kind and he said, yeah, go for it and all of that. It took me 3 years or 2 years before I got round to it, probably, when I was in lockdown. And I finally did it. And I sent him the photo. I said, I just thought you might be interested. You gave me permission a couple of years ago. And here's the final product. And he said nice things about the painting, which was lovely. And I said, hey, I might just hang it on my wall, but I might sell it. And if I sell it, I'm happy to give you 10% or, a certain percentage. Yeah. And he was very kind. He said, oh, there's no need to do that, He was just happy that someone that I enjoyed his photography and I still haven't decided whether I'm going to hang it on my wall or sell it. But I said to him, look, he thought it was a nice gesture that I offered him a percentage, but I also thought it was a nice gesture of him to say no. So I said, look, if I do sell it, I'll donate the percentage to doggy rescue for rescue dogs in your honour kind of thing. But potentially that might be a way, who knows, right? To if an artist asks you for a collaboration in that way, that might be a small amount of money that could be useful to you.
Definitely. There's lots of ways out there to work together and, I think that's a great idea, Val.
So anyway, just a thought.
Fantastic.
All right, so this week's topic is 5 pro tips for beginners and enthusiasts to take their photography to the next level. I know that one of the things that you've been doing is helping the gold community as well take their photography to the next level. What have you been working with them on lately?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic week in the gold community. Lots of wins here. I had one of the members telling me a story about how they shot a headshot, and it's like I really bang on about these 1%ers, and it's like when they're uploading their images, I'll say this is great, and then I will list all the good things about the image and then all the things I want them to do next time to take that image to the next level, all these little 1%ers. And they've been drilled in, and it's like often like you're going along and you're learning, and it's like you don't notice how far you've come until what happened to one of the members where they a headshot that they did for someone was published in amongst several other headshots done by other photographers. And my comment, and this is what the photographer noticed, she said, my images really stood out. You can see the difference. And I said, oh, yeah, this is my comment. Your images stands out like dog's balls, right? Which is my standard reply, which just means that basically they just, like, the other photographers didn't bother with all those little 1%ers, no white balance, lighting, and then the goldies, which I'm so proud of them, then list all the things that they noticed about the other images and what was wrong with them. Oh my God, the hot spot on the head, the editing is awful, the image is crooked, the color is wrong. And then you see this particular gold member's images just stands out. So these things that like you think are not important until you see them standing out against those other images. And then when you've got images like this and you post them to social media, your followers and your clients are not at first going to understand what it is you do that is different to the other images that they see, but they will notice the difference. They will see the quality. They won't understand it. And so it's really important. Another great thing that I noticed this week is I'm getting the pros in the group. So those that have been shooting for years and years and years, I'm getting them all to do 0 to hero lighting. And then I'm asking them what they notice. And it's like they're telling me like these amazing stories are coming back with like finally, I understand lighting. I thought I did before, but now I understand it in a way that I can walk into any situation and control the lighting and create the kind of image that I've got in my mind's eye. So there are just a couple of the things that are going on that I'm super, super proud of, Val.
So good. And of course, if you'd like to find out a little bit more about the Gold community, have a listen to this.
This podcast is brought to you by the Gold community. If you're wondering what it's like to be a member of the Gold community over at cf97a9aa883d4ce9b6acad7a004e5709, I asked Eva Swagger why she joined.
And then all of a sudden I noticed there is this community and tutorials and individual questions and sounded like, oh, this is really exciting. It has fulfilled my expectations and beyond, because it's an enormous source of resources, of tutorials, of knowledge, experience. It's always a personal touch, a bit of a humor. It's just great. The major change is portraits. I thought this is nothing for me because, well, how do I dare to think about taking portraits of people? Who am I doing that? But the more I see and I learn about it, and the more I see other members first struggling and then progressing, it's so inspiring. Oh, certainly I would recommend it. It's worth every penny.
If you'd like to find out more about the Gold community, head to ginamilitia.com and click on Memberships.
All right, so let's get stuck into this week's episode, 5 pro tips for beginners and enthusiasts to take photography to the next level. Where are we going to start on this?
All right, so, what is it that all world-class artists have in common? And it's more than just experience and skill level. So what I want to share in this episode, Val, is 5 practical pro tips that you can apply to your photography to make you stand out from the pack. And this is like, you don't need the fancy gear to apply these protocols, and this is regardless of where you are in your skill set level. All right. So now, in the last 30 years, I have been blessed due to some risks that I've taken and decisions that I've made and a lot of hard work to be in a position today where I'm lucky enough to be able to pick and choose the projects that I do. And I'm very grateful to be in that situation. So right now, for me, the things that I value in the work that I do are the craftsmanship and high art. So, when I look around, I love to see simplicity, beauty and design, and I love, watching good quality art movies and that sort of stuff. So when I create a photo, it has to be beautiful. And for me, it's not about the money. But guess what, Val? The irony of that statement is the more I care about the quality of the images that I do and what I churn out, the more I get paid to do this work, right? So it's been really a really great discovery. So I've been thinking about a lot of the artists that I respect and admire and what the things are that makes them stand out. So I want to share 5 of those with you guys today, and you can apply these to your work and make a difference to the kind of work you do. So number 1, Val.
Yes.
No pressure, no diamonds. So the importance of developing resilience. So I want to tell you a story. Now, I am obsessed with the Olympics. We know this. I've talked about it. I've been watching a lot. of Olympics late at night, and it's giving me so much joy.
Okay.
One story that I heard this week is, and I'll relate it back to photography, I promise. So this week, our Australian Olympic swim team won a record 9 gold medals. Now, this is the most gold medals the Australian Olympic team have ever won at an Olympic event. Even our home games, we didn't win that many, all right? So now, to get to that level, obviously there is lots of training and lots of sacrifice. Early mornings, strict diets, weight training, lots of repetition in the pool, okay? Which we also do as photographers. We've got to be dedicated to get to that good level. So it involves doing those reps and, you know, being really dedicated to the craft. But hard work and dedication is going to get you to a certain point. So the hard work of these athletes gets them to the heats, and hopefully they have enough in them to get to the finals, but the finals, Val, whole other ball game. So what is it that separates the gold medal winners from the ones who get to the final but don't come out with a medal, right? So genius Aussie swim coach taught his young and experienced team members a fantastic lessons about resilience. So what he did, and this is before they went over to Japan, is one morning out of the blue, like they were obviously at a training camp, he comes in and he wakes them all at 3:30 a.m. Okay? They have to get dressed, get in the bus. They don't know where they're going, and he takes them to an arena with extras. It's packed, okay?
Oh.
And he tells them it's a swim meet, a surprise swim. This is a competition, right? Not only does he get the crowd to just be roaring the whole time, he's letting off fireworks at the same time, okay? Now, you'd think this is a bit extreme, but what he's doing is he's teaching them about develop resilience, because, like, they can swim and do the laps and do, you know, practice and get their times and everything. But if you've never experienced what it's like to be at one of these world stage events where there's all these other distractions, a lot of the swimmers who are inexperienced choke. Okay, so he's teaching them the importance of being able to drown out all of those distractions. Okay, so as photographers, we need to train repeatedly to be match fit, but it's not enough to just turn up to these events that you shoot at when you're only pulling out the camera every couple of months and doing stuff in the comfort of your own home or photographing your friends. You actually get rusty and you don't have the resilience. So when you get to pro level, you have to work and learn to work in extreme environments and still be able to achieve outstanding results. So there's no such thing as a leisurely shoot, as much as we want to believe that our client's going to ring us up and go, yeah, so what we can do is, like, you take your time, take all day to shoot it. Our model's just going to stand there and be perfectly happy while you light, change your lighting, make mistakes, talk about it. No, you know, you've got pressure. So there's always time pressure. They promise you hours, you end up with a little time. There's light pressure. The light is never playing nice when you want it to. There is pressure on, like, the space. Like, you don't have a large studio with high ceilings. Often you're in a cramped environment, low ceilings, there's guff everywhere, okay? So what do you do about that? So models can be difficult, picky. So it's not like photographing your best friend and having a laugh. So you can get people with all different kinds of personality, okay? So you have to contend with all these things. Just know that the difference between doing a shoot when it's practice and when you're doing it for reals, these are all the things I experienced on my first, few shoots. Your heart is going to race, Adrenaline is pumping through your body. You are nervous. You will immediately forget all the poses that you rehearsed, then spent ages researching the night before. They go. Your mind is just empty because that's the adrenaline. That's what the adrenaline does. Everything becomes harder. So those critical thinking skills that you had where when you're not under pressure going, oh, there's not enough light, I'll just open up my aperture, I'll just increase my ISO, which is like, when you've got all the time in the world. But when you're under pressure, suddenly all these skills go out the window and you don't know what to do and you end up panicking and, you'll abandon all the beautiful, complicated lighting you have because you're under so much pressure, and then you just go back to whatever your default setting is. So my best advice to you is to get yourself match ready and learn to be resilient. So the best way you can do that, shoot every day. If you've got 5 minutes, just bring your camera out for 5 minutes and practice something. Practice focus. Practice setting up your lights. I used to, whenever I did a shoot, like all the shoots, I was so nervous because I'm an introvert. I'm shy. I don't, and so I would be nervous. I'd sweat. I'd shake. I got starstruck all the times. I was shooting celebrities and they'd walk into the room and I'm like, oh my God, it's Justin Bieber. And you'd be shaking and even trying to direct them. And so what happens when you're in that position and you're starstruck and it's like you lose the ability to take control of the shoot. So you're easily influenced. Who have you been
starstruck by? I have to interrupt.
I don't get starstruck anymore. I have not been starstruck for 20 years, Val. But
20, 30 years ago. Who were you starstruck by?
So Claudia Schiffer, starstruck.
Okay,
there's been other A-listers like, Joey from Friends, starstruck.
Oh, yeah, okay. Matt LeBlanc.
What's his name? Ricky Martin, starstruck.
Really?
There's people that are just like they're the biggest stars in the world. You're going to get a bit starstruck. So what happens in those situations is when you're a newbie to this, and it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to be shooting a celebrity. You could be shooting a CEO. You could be just shooting a model. But when you're not experienced and you're already dealing with the crisis in your head of like, this is all so scary, is they're going to end up taking over the shoot. So if you've got talent, art directors, publicists, even the client, they're going to start, like if you start panicking and looking like you're hesitant, they'll just jump in and go, well, why don't we just try changing the light and moving it over here? Why don't we use this background? And you'll just go, let's just do that, because you've like everything empties from your head. So what happens essentially then is you just become the button pusher and you've got all these other people dictating. That's not what you want to happen. So after all the shoots that I've done now, I go in, I'm very calm. Now, I say I'm calm, but there's also always an edge of anticipation that's really important that goes in the shoot. I want to do well. So there is a little bit of a good nervous energy, but I'm not starstruck and I'm not going to I will listen to other people, but I'm not going to be, forced to do stuff that I don't want to do. So there's a technique that you can do to collaborate, but that has all gone away because I've developed that resilience. So how can you do this? I recommend drills every day, like you're training for the photography Olympics. So if you can't, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, take yourself to a strange location. This is something that you can partner up with another photographer in your area and go, okay, let's pick 5 locations, 1 light, and go around and we'll photograph each other with 5 strange locations. And I want you to walk in and see how quickly you can find a spot to shoot in, find the good light, set up your light, pose the model and get the shot, because the reality is that's all the time you will get. And so you'll be your ability to do that and think quickly on your feet, you need to develop that muscle. So do this with as many new locations as possible, and that is going to be a really good thing that you can do for yourself. It's not going to hurt is if you invite a third friend to heckle you while you're shooting. This also happens. Now, even if you're shooting a wedding, there's a drunk uncle that's constantly heckling in the background or walking in front of the shoot. So you need to learn to be able to deal with those people. I've had shoots where I've done on stage where there's a full arena of people just waiting for me to do the photo shoot. Tell me about pressure. That's pressure. I've been heckled by politicians in the background because he's waiting for his mate to get off set, sitting there going, can you hurry up and take the picture? We're going for lunch. Now normally young Gina would have said, yes, sir, okay. But I turn around and gave him the Sicilian smile and go, it'll be done when it's done. Right? So learn all of that because this is part of the journey. And the other thing that I want you to think about the people that you photograph. So I've said this before, but making it you only photographing thin and beautiful models is like shooting fish in a barrel, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get a bad shot. Most of it is done for you, okay? You find good lighting, you'll get great shots. But honestly, this is 3% of the population, okay, are blessed with that accident at birth that they were born. Beautiful. The majority of the population, and get this, the people that are going to pay you the big bucks to photograph them are not, are come in all shapes and sizes. They're all ages. So challenge yourself and try and photograph all different body shapes and sizes, and don't just stick to, 20-something-year-old girls. Photograph all different ages. You will have a much longer, much more successful and much more fulfilling career doing that. All right? So
brilliant.
Develop that resilience. Okay?
Okay, good. Yes. So hire your friends to heckle.
Do you like that, Val? Would you be a good heckler? What kind of stuff would you say?
I think it'd be better to hire some teenagers or hire some kids, like hire your kids to heckle.
Hire my kids. They're not teenagers anymore, but
they're not.
They were pretty good hecklers, and their role in life is to keep me grounded and humble, and they're very, very good at it. So use your teenagers. Just go, hey guys. While I'm shooting this, I want you to heckle me so that you can get better at it. All right. So next tip, Val.
Yes.
This is a question that I want you to ask yourself when you do a shot. Okay. Very important question is, can this be shot on a smartphone? Okay. So let's think about this. Smartphone technology is getting better and better. So, and we've all had this experience, and there's nothing more humbling than when you're at an event and Auntie Betty busts out her smartphone camera and takes a better photo than you, right? It's happened to all of us. So, and the reality is there's heaps of amazing photographers that are taking great images on the smartphones. They're shooting, they're editing, they're doing fantastic stuff. I'm not taking anything away from them. It's a whole new genre that's evolving, but for us pros, particularly portrait photographers, all the other genres as well, architecture, product, if the shot that you're shooting could also be done on a smartphone, then I think you need to change the way you're thinking about your images. So you need to do more. So, if you're shooting outside and obviously the light is beautiful and you go, I'm just going to do this with daylight because daylight's great, right? Yes, it is. But also the smartphone can shoot that shot just as well. So there's nothing setting you apart from the smartphone photographers. And, the clients know this. And often I'm seeing a lot of photographers complaining about is like, yeah, I shot this person and they pulled out a selfie and they said, my photos are better. They didn't like it. So, and it's true. It's like the smartphone factor is coming in. So how can you improve the production values? Because this is where Mirrorless and DSLR really can make their photography stand out compared to smartphone photography. So things like lighting, okay, artificial lighting, photo composites, editing, color grading. Again, your clients that are looking at your images are not going to know exactly what you did to make your images look the way they did, but they will notice the difference in clarity, in sharpness, in the richness of the image, and just the general production value of the image. Does that make sense? It's like when you watch what is a show that's filmed on video compared to something that's filmed on I can just remember that as a kid watching Days of Our Lives, there was always something really jarring about the show that I never really understood, and the reason that I never quite liked it, it just jarred, right? Mm-hmm. And then I realised, it's because it's shot on video and it's really flat. And
right.
It's caca. And then when you go and you watch a beautifully filmed movie, which is, high production values, beautiful cinematography, you go, this is a feast for my eyes. This is what you're giving. Give your clients a feast for their eyes. Develop those high production values. Stand out from the smartphone pack. So lighting, color grading, rich images are going to make all the difference. And that's what the pros, high-end photographers are doing. Basically, don't be lazy. Go that extra mile. Do whatever it takes to make your images stand out from the pack.
Yeah, right. Okay. I like that. I like that question that you need to ask yourself.
It's a great question to ask yourself, all right? Creativity, Val. This is the third one. Very important. Now, your creativity is always going to be your most valuable asset. It's not what you shoot. It's not the camera that you have. It's not the lens that you use. It's creativity. This can't be copied. It can't be outsourced. AI can't invent creativity. That's the one thing that, and AI is coming. It's like basically the smartphone is AI. That's all it is. So they've worked out this way to combine lots of photos to get that blurry background, or combine merge images to get that HDR look. It's all, artificial intelligence. And also we see it in post-production, where now you can rub a cursor over an area, replace the sky. Fantastic. These are all skills that took weeks and weeks and weeks to do in the past, or lots of, scientific calculations to get right. Now AI has taken over everything. So there are a lot of bananas out there with iPhones that can just go, look what I did. I'm a photographer, right? Yes. But what they lack that you can have that will set you apart from everyone else is your creativity. So how do you get it? How do you become creative where you can think of ideas that are not something that you've ripped off Instagram or that you found on Pinterest or something like that? That's just copying, okay? Yeah. It's an original idea that you can look at someone, take their portrait and really make that portrait come alive and give them something that they've never ever seen before that everyone goes, wow. So how do you become creative? There are a few things you can do.
How do you foster your creativity?
To increase that creativity. So one of the best ways is to let yourself be bored. And it's something that we don't do anymore because we're constantly filling ourselves with things to do. So how often are you waiting in line at the checkout, or stuck at the lights, or, you've got 5 minutes between appointments? What do? What's the first thing everyone does? They reach for their phone and they'll get online and scroll through Instagram or Facebook. So if you can allow yourself just to have that few minutes of boredom. Now, as kids, we used to lie on our backs, look up at the sky, and I used to look at the clouds and see if I could make see images out of all the clouds. Did you do those games, Val? Or did you play with? I can't imagine you making mud pies.
I didn't really lie on the grass.
No, because it's dirty. And did you ever do mud pies, Val?
No.
So I used to do all of that. But did you ever just because even now in the morning, I wake up to silence, and often I'll just if I'm bored, I will happily stare at a ceiling and make images out of cracks in the wall. That is just my weird way of looking at things. So boredom is the gateway to creativity. So sit and let yourself daydream. I am a big daydreamer. I'm constantly daydreaming, and that is where a lot of my great ideas come from. The other way to do that is and we've talked about this before in the podcast, that there's two parts of the brain, right? There's the smart part of your brain that does all the work for you, that does all the important things like, okay, so today I need to go to work, I need to drive to work, on the way, during the day I need to go to the supermarket, I need to, book tickets for a show that I want to see, and I'm having lunch with a friend, okay? The executive part of your brain, the smart part, is doing all of that thinking for you. That's constantly on. Deep beyond that is the creative part of the brain. It's buried. Okay. The problem is, to get to that creative part of the brain, we need to distract that part of the brain that's the worker brain part of the brain. Does that make sense, Val? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to distract the worker part of the brain, what you need to do is do boring activities that give that part of the brain enough to do to get distracted. So that's why you have great thoughts in the shower. You get great ideas because you're washing your body, which is enough of a distraction, and then while you're washing and keeping that part of the talky part of your brain distracted for a minute, this great idea pops in. A glass of wine will do the same thing.
Cool.
Certain other microdosing other substances, whatever you're into, will also do the same thing, Val. Mm-hmm. So, and all that is what happens when you have that glass of wine, and when you just start to feel good after that first glass. It's because you've switched off the talky part of your brain that just craps on all day long about the things that you should be doing, switches it off, and suddenly you've tapped into that happier part of your brain that's just having nice ideas. That's another way to do it. Walking, washing dishes. So tap into that part, do more of that. They call walking a moving meditation because it's a good way to distract that part of the brain. So you want to think outside the box. You want to think about, with your photography, how can I do this differently? Don't be paid to just be a button pusher. There is more to life. So the big bucks come when they book you to not just shoot the shot, but to come in with ideas. If you can be the ideas person that you're getting booked to be, big money in that, and far more fulfilling. It's a lot more fun. So you want to be paid for your imagination. So surround yourself in beauty. And that is if you have a small space, doesn't matter how big your space is, make it as beautiful as possible. I buy flowers every week. I like to have music. I like to have nice scents around. I like to be surrounded by nature. I love art. I curate my social media feed so that I don't have a constant stream of angry people yelling at each other. I just want to see beautiful images. Yeah. And honestly, I know that's very addictive, but please stay away from the hacky Facebook groups, the ones that are sharing the same boring, unimaginative, unoriginal images each day. That's not doing your creativity any good. And then avoid feedback from social media. So the masses, do you want to know what the Queen calls the masses? The Queen of England?
How do you know what the Queen calls the masses?
I know these things, Val.
Okay, go on.
Her term for the masses, milk in first.
Milk in first?
Yes, so it refers to how you drink your tea. So if you drink your tea by pouring the milk in first, she considers you a bogan. Because the elite, the high class, you put your milk in last.
Right.
So as much as people accuse me of being a bogan, guess what?
You put your milk in last.
I'm with the Queen. I'm with you, Lizzie. I agree. So,
please, everyone, do not take this as gospel. We actually don't know that the Queen.
Yeah, this allegedly. Are they litigious? So allegedly. So the people that are commenting on your giving you feedback on social media, the majority are clueless. Don't listen. Okay?
No, can I just say though, what if they're saying lovely things about your
then you listen to the
photography?
lovely things. But, if they're giving you critique, take it with a grain of salt. We know that there's 5 people that you want to listen to. You have your group of people, the people that you respect, the people whose work you admire. Listen to them. And then the rest, you don't know why they're critiquing. Some people just love to critique because it makes them feel better about themselves. So, just take it all with a grain of salt. Spend your life, look at better quality art. So higher end magazines. I love Vogue, Rolling Stone, GQ, Nat Geo. Look at high end commercial photography. There are some amazing photographers, art photographers, okay? This is all immersing yourself in beauty and creativity of the highest quality is going to really influence the stuff that you do, and it's really going to help with your creativity. Is there anything that you do, Val, that what inspires your creativity? I know you do creative dates. You love to do that.
I think that what I've realised is that I need to follow what piques my interest, and even if it's a slight little nudge or a slight little, I wonder, whatever I'm wondering, right? And I need to let myself go down that rabbit hole and to explore the things I feel called to explore. And when I do that, I discover so many things and I get so many ideas. The shower also works really well for me.
Yeah.
But you can't shower 24 hours a day. So once you're out of the shower,
driving's a good one. Long drives.
Yes, driving.
Yeah.
Can also work. Yes. So I think that the shower is more effective than driving. Because no chance you're going to crash. But I think that it's very important to indulge in your creative curiosity because that leads to discovery and new ways of doing things. So when I feel that little nudge or that little, maybe I should, look into that. It's always useful when I let myself do that.
Yeah. Fantastic. So follow your curiosity, chase it down and see where it leads you. Yeah, that's a great idea. All right. Number 4, Val.
Okay, number 4.
Don't be a hack.
What do you mean by that?
So, it's kind of you get set in your ways or you become complacent as a photographer. So this happened to me. I developed a one-size-fits-all lighting style early on in my career, and as soon as I worked out this works, I just used it for everyone. Okay, right. And it took me a long time to realise that there is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to photography. It doesn't work because you want to shoot the person, not try and foist the one-size-fits-all. And I used to do it in the first few years that I was shooting, when I found different poses, I would try and, foist them onto the model. And it didn't always work for the model. You can't have everyone, not everyone can pull off a pose. Like some people are just... it just doesn't work. It doesn't suit their personality. Some people are super awkward and they never get it right. And I used to just continue to work with them and force it on and, trying these one-size-fits-all lighting, one-size-fits-all editing, and one-size-fits-all posing. So it took me a long time to work that out, that like sometimes you need to work with the person, you need to understand what they're about, you need to find out what their background is, and just don't come in and go, yeah, I'm going to do split lighting here. Split lighting doesn't work for everyone, or just doing flat white background doesn't work for every skin tone. So, there is all these subtle differences. Window light looks amazing on some people. Hard light looks fabulous on some people, not so great on others. So you want to consider the skin tone. What's the end result? Where's the image going, I got into a lot of trouble where I had my crop right in tight into the face kind of era, and then suddenly the editor's going, did you get any with the actual top of the head? This is going to be a cover. And I'm like, no, I didn't think to do that. So like learning from all these mistakes, I now know that it's like, I will crop in camera, but I'll also zoom out and try and give more so that they've got more to work with. So you want to really think about that. So these are all really important. So again, what kind of backgrounds are you using? And I know that the bush background or the lovely forest is really, really popular, and the beach, but it's been done to death. Everybody's doing it. The baby on the road with the sunset, done to death. What can you do that's different? Think about new and exciting locations. So take a day and go around your neighbourhood. Even like if you live in a big city or near a big city, book one of those. What are those things that you ride around on? Are they called segways?
Segway,
ride around. You do, yeah. So you do a touristy tour of your own town. Do one of those. You'll be amazed at all the alleyways and beautiful buildings and like locations that you'll discover that you never knew existed, or just walk around your neighbourhood and look for interesting walls, interesting alternatives to locations that you never thought of, that are something beyond the park or the beach.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely see in terms of locations, is that some photographers will just go, that's the Airbnb, I know, and like every photograph they shoot is in that Airbnb, or every photograph they shoot is in a particular door or whatever. So I think that is particularly super important, not to get complacent with locations, because, you keep searching out new locations.
And I get it. It's easy, and it's easy to go back to the default setting, and it's actually a good thing to have a couple of standby default settings, because go back to the first point, developing resilience. If you're under extreme pressure and they're giving you 2 minutes and you just have to nail the shot, there is no time to search out a location. You might need to go to that default setting. Perfectly fine, because as a professional, it is your job to bring back something and nail the shot. And so you can have these go-to scenarios that you can go back to when you're under pressure, but it's also good to continue building on that repertoire. So think about, like, when you learn a particular style of lighting, change it up, change your lighting, experiment, work harder, try different styles of lighting. And that's why I encourage everyone to have a personal project that when you're working on something else other than the commercial work that you're doing, when you can freely and easily, without pressure and without the worry of messing up a job, experiment with new lighting styles. It's so important, because then you can apply those. Once you get it right and you've nailed it and you're confident, you can use that in your commercial work. So, remember the story I told you at the start of the show about the Goldie that the work stood out like dog's cojones, or just make that. Kids in the back of the car going, "Mummy, what's a cojones?" Sorry. It's all about those 1%ers, and don't just rest and be complacent. Really work on improving those 1%ers, because honestly, there's no greater feeling than when you get your work published alongside all these other photographers and it's your photo. that stands out, and it's not you cringing. It's like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed of that photographer. You know, I should have done my white balance, or I wish I had a different background. You know, and look how good that other photographer's work looks. You want your work to be the one. So the extra work is worth it, and definitely, again, your Insta followers are not going to know the difference. They're not going to understand exactly what you did, but they will notice the difference. And the good news is, when you go with quality, when you go that extra mile, when you add those 1%ers, that quality attracts. Word of mouth spreads.
Yes.
People talk about you. They talk about the experience that you gave them because you took the care to talk to them about wardrobe. You noticed that the jacket was crumpled. You pulled the back of the jacket so that it was all square. You brushed away the hair. You talked to them about what to wear. You were interested in the colour. You were thoughtful about the background, and you spent that time getting them out of their head so that they connected with the camera. All of these things, they go home, they feel amazing. They're going to tell their friends about you. And honestly, when you do stuff like that, they will remember that forever. They'll remember that forever, and hopefully they will keep you forever as their photographer as long as you keep doing that good work. The good shit sticks. Yeah. Memorable quote.
Yeah, great. Sicilian
People
quote.
Remember the good stuff. All right,
brilliant.
Finally,
Love
Val, final point.
Yes.
Be humble. Okay.
Okay.
So the best of the best, and I see this at elite musicians, elite athletes, every A-list actor I've ever worked with, is they're quietly humble. Okay, they're not loud. They don't carry on. They don't bang on about themselves a lot. They just have this quiet confidence about them, and that's because they've made it their life's work to be a master at their craft. And I think with that comes the realisation that the more you know, the more you realise you don't know. So they're never going to be the master. They're always the student. And what happens is a lot of young artists, as they're coming up, they might be a little lack in confidence, and this is kind of disguised as arrogance. So you might have met some of these in your photography Facebook group. So they often believe that their work is fantastic and they've got nothing left to learn, and they act as know-it-all. They'll argue with everyone, and they don't listen to other people's views. So they kind of just stay at the same level, and they'll brag about their achievements. So arrogance often masks. It's like it shows insecurity. So so they need to constantly pump themselves up to make themselves feel better. So the reason that they share their work is to basically to stroke their ego. The difference between that and someone who has confidence is the confident people sort of know what their self-worth is, but they also know what work they need to do to become better. So and that's a big difference. So what you can do, remaining humble, if you're working in groups and you want to share your work and you want to get better, there is a couple of bits of advice I can give you. So firstly, don't be an ask hole.
Yes.
Okay? What is an ask hole is these are the most difficult people to teach because they ask for advice, you give it to them, and then they ignore it. Okay? So if you're asking advice from someone who can possibly help you with your photography, give it a try. You never know. But for some reason, there are people that are reluctant to take advice. So they'll constantly ask for advice, but then they'll just believe that like what they're doing is always better, and they ignore it. And it's like you're not going to grow in that way. So the easiest and fastest way to teach people, and the people I find that move the quickest in their photography are the ones that ask for advice and then they take it, and they take it to the letter, and then they ask more questions, and they're continually asking, how can I improve? So I've seen this. I've seen students like this that go from 0 skills in lighting to lighting like a pro in a week because they took this humble approach. So it also comes down to how you ask your questions. So I encourage my gold members to ask, how they can improve the image and what they can do differently next time. I think it's really important. So there's a couple of things you can do with your photography. If you want to get your ego stroked, and nothing wrong with that, I think it's really important that you get positive feedback and that you know you're on the right track. And it's really nice to get words of encouragement along your way. That's what Facebook's for, because you can post to your friends and family and they're always going to go, oh, that's beautiful. You're so good. And it's just like, it's lovely. I even love hearing that, Val. I love it. I was like, and it's like my greatest, fondest memory was just before my mum died. The one thing she said to me was how proud she was and how much she loved my images. And I'll never forget that. We all love that, Val, right? So that's super important. So that's what your friends and family are for. That's where you get that praise and recognition. But if you want to grow and evolve, then you need to ask the right questions, and don't be afraid to ask the right questions. When you're getting your work critiqued, you're not getting critiqued. It's your work you're getting critiqued. And it's going to make you a better photographer. So it's really important that you do this. So you guys have an amazing and free way to do this. The podcast community Facebook group is fantastic. These guys are considerate and caring and beautiful in the way that they see their work, and lovely, thoughtful and considerate. So it's really fantastic and worth doing. And also there's the gold community, which is also amazing. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Ask the right questions. Take the advice and see what happens. Your work will improve. But it's like, what you need to know is, and throughout your whole life, everything you don't know what you don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We don't know what we don't know. And the only way that we can improve is if we ask people who are a little bit ahead of us, hey, what don't I know here? What can I learn? How can I be better?
Yeah.
So there you go. 5 tips beginners and enthusiasts can make to take their photography to the next level.
Brilliant. That was jam-packed. That was fantastic, and really, really, useful tips and some great wisdom in there as well. So thank you, Gina. That was awesome.
Tea goes in last. The milk goes in last.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I must be a bogan then, because I do the milk first.
Really, Val?
Yeah, I know. I used to put the milk in last. But as I've gotten older, it's just what I do.
All right, so tea drinkers, please wade in. What is it? Is it tea? Is it milk in first or milk in last? And why? Tell us, educate us.
I know that it's meant to be the milk in last, but I just I don't know why. I just changed that in the last, I would say, year.
And do you enjoy your tea more?
Yes. In fact.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's fine. Whatever works, Val. Whatever works.
All right. So what are you doing in the coming week, Gina? We're at the end of this week's episode.
More Olympics.
Oh, yeah, right.
More Olympics. I've also got a massive project that I'm working on for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Got an amazing team that I'm working with. Fingers crossed that all goes well. And I've decided I'm going to I've got more power tools. So what I've done, right, is you can now buy the way all the tool companies have started doing this thing, which is great, is you buy the skin, which is like you buy a drill or you buy a saw or you buy a sander or something like that, but it's just the ones that are battery operated. It's just the actual saw without the battery, right? So you can buy them reasonably cheaply, and then you buy the battery. Okay, and then it works. So you only need one battery, and then you can buy all these tools for like $30. So I've got this whole collection of power tools now, and I've got I bought an extra drill last week, and so now I've got enough, and I'm going to build a bamboo screen for my deck, so that I can sunbake.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my big project. What are you doing?
I won't be playing with power tools. I will probably be continuing my painting of the coastal series that I'm doing, which is I'm just really thoroughly enjoying. So good fun.
It looks like you are. That's great. So enjoy lockdown, peanut butter, add a bit of, I would be adding a bit of Nutella to that. Just to take it to the next level.
All right. Where do we find you online, Gina?
So you can find me at GinaMilicia.com. That's GinaMilicia. I'm at Gina Milicia on all social media. And if you want to take your photography to the next level, I'd love the opportunity to work with you. You can find out about the Gold community at GinaMilicia.com and click on
membership.
What is it, Val? Yeah, that's it. Membership. Click on membership. What about you, Val?
You'll find me at Valerie Khoo, that's KHOO, on Twitter and Instagram, and over at valeriekhoo.com. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we look forward to chatting to you again next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to So You Want to Be a Photographer. For more information, free resources, and Gina's regular newsletter on everything you need to know to become a successful photographer, visit GinaMilicia.com.